On this day in history, March 19th, 1284, the Statute of Rhuddlan incorporates the Principality of Wales into England. Included in the following is an excerpt from the 1944 edition of the Encyclopaedia Britannica going over the Conquest of Wales. The English Conquest. In both his wars with Llewellyn the Last, Edward had won his victory by the use of sea power against Gwynedd. He had realized that it was only thus that Wales could be crippled, namely by a final blow at the vulnerable danger spot. The dynasty was disposed of by the execution of David, Llewellyn's brother, in 1283. But it was in quite a limited sense that Wales was conquered at this time. Llewellyn's dominions were brought by the Statute of Rhuddlan, 1284, under the direct rule of the Crown. They were divided into counties, furnished with Crown officials, and protected by new castles and boroughs at Carnarvon, Conway, Balmerus, Criccieth, and Harlech. But the old Marcher lordships, baronial preserves where the lords ruled as little kings and royal writs did not run, were not interfered with. Indeed, their number was increased and new franchises arose around Daneby, Ruthin, Wrexham, and Chirk. Even the loyalist princes of Powys and the Vale of Towy were left undisturbed, and among the smaller Welsh landowners the changes were far fewer than might have been supposed. Indeed, in many respects, the new Wales differed little from the old. It was still a land of small, independent states, which each governed by its own customs and inhabited by a Welsh-speaking population, among which the old Welsh culture flourished. Edward was no friend to Marcher privileges. In 1291 he brought the lords Brecknock and Glamorgan to book for exercising the right of private war, and in 1301 he revived the Principality of Wales in the person of his son, seemingly in order to create a Welsh authority which could bridle the barons. But tradition was more potent than royal will. Under the weak rule of Edward II, Wales became the battleground of baronial factions, and when Edward III, in 1343, again created a Prince of Wales, it was with a less ambitious purpose. The Black Prince was hardly more than a chief Welsh landlord, the master of Welsh archers and lancemen, who fought with distinction under him at Crecy and Poitiers. There had been revolts of the Welsh under Rhys ap Mardud of Dreislin, 1287, Madag ap Llewellyn of Marianid, 1294, and Llewellyn Bren of Seganid, 1316, but in the course of the 14th century, resistance died down. Even Anglesey, that ancient focus of liberty, produced defenders of the crown, such as the Penmynd family, ancestors of the Tudors, and Sir Howell of the Horseshoes, men who never forgave the murderers of Edward II. The country was growing more prosperous, and a thriving trade sprang up at the ports of Rhuddlan, Balmerus, Havenfordwest, and Carmarthen. It is therefore startling to find that, at the opening of the 15th century, Wales convulsed by a new revolt, more widespread than any of its predecessors. Owain Glyndwr was the direct male representative of the line of Northern Powys, which claims that through his mother to the lands of the Lord Rhys. At the accession of Henry IV, he held a portion of this inheritance on the banks of the Dee and of the Teifi. When in 1400 he broke into rebellion, it was mainly to vindicate personal wrongs, but Henry underestimated both the hereditary prestige and the high abilities of this warrior of courage and genius, with the result that Owen's power grew from year to year, and he was ere long emboldened to proclaim himself independent Prince of Wales. The capture of his enemy Reginald Grey gave him financial resources, that of Edward Mortimer, a valuable ally. He concluded a treaty with Charles VI of France, won the castles of Harlech and Aberystwyth, held parliaments of his subjects, and exercised in a large part of Wales the powers of a ruling prince. The downfall of his friends, the Percys, at Shrewsbury, 1403, was not fatal to the movement. More serious was the failure of the French at Woodbury Hill, 1405, and the loss of two castles, 1408. As the difficulties of Henry IV gradually disappeared, Owain's cause became hopeless, and he died in hiding in 1416. He has never ceased to be the darling hero of Welsh popular tradition. The Glyndwr movement left Welsh society in ruins, and during the rest of the century recovery was but slow. Disorder returned with the Wars of the Roses, in which Welshmen such as Owen Tudor, died 1461, and William Herbert, Earl of Pembroke, died 1469, were deeply involved. It was a Tudor who at last brought peace alike to England and Wales on the field of Bosworth, with a large Welsh following who reckoned that they had avenged in this victory the wrongs of foreign rule.